question?
What was the most difficult property to actually auction?
It's a really good question. There was a property in Camden about 18 months ago called 11 Bonnie Street. You'll find it on the website. It was a end of terrace, 3-bedroom house being used as a 5-bedroom HMO. Didn't have any licensing or anything like that. It was being sold on a 20-year commercial lease. Difficult enough? Good, beautiful. We started well. Next question now. So basically, what you were buying, I think the guide price was around £100,000 to £120,000, and it was producing something like £56,000 a year, but you had to net that off to the amount you were paying to the freeholder, who was Network Rail, who owned the rail station to the back. So you were really netting about £34,000 a year before you really netted down any real costs after that. That was very difficult. Really sad story, actually. The lady who bought it thought she was buying a 5-bedroom HMO. So it was quite a sad situation to deal with. She lost her deposit, sadly. That's what happens when you don't read the property particulars. It's very important. She saw the numbers, she saw the number of the rooms, put her hand in the air, didn't read anything about 20-year commercial lease with 15 years remaining, and that really was the clincher. That was a very difficult sale. The other one that was a difficult sale was I think it was a 1 or a 2-bedroom house flat in New Addleston, so southeast London, if anyone knows it, like Selhurst area. Oh, question?
With regards to the point that you were just making, what actually happened to that property?
The person who was selling it, she kept it.
Oh, okay.
She kept it and the deposit, sadly, but she'd been trying for quite some time to. So there were about 6 houses, maybe a bit more detail. There were about 6 houses, and 2 of the 6 had already negotiated with the freeholder to buy the freehold of the property, which in Camden was about 1.3, 1.4 million. And she was fighting with the rail station, Network Rail, but they wouldn't sell to her. So she thought, they're not going to sell to me, I'm going to carry on renting it, but hopefully if someone else buys it, maybe they'll be able to negotiate it. And I don't know if she sold it. This was about 18 months ago. Yeah.
What are you seeing in the market at the moment? Is it strong in the auction house, or is it?
Brilliant question. Jump straight for the jugular, this one. We've coined it as sticky. We've called the market very, very sticky in the office. And we call it sticky because at auction you are required to exchange immediately with a 10% non-refundable deposit. And in order to do that, you need confidence in your due diligence, confidence in the property, confidence in your ability to execute your exit strategy, but equally you need confidence in the market. And there's not much. There are still things that are really very popular and things that have died out, and I'm sure when Ranjan comes here, he'll buy me a drink once I say that single lets are struggling. The family homes, the fixer-uppers, they're still doing quite well. There's still a bit of a fringe market there available, although I think the refurb and resell thing is almost as dead as single let. It depends on how much value you add, I guess. I think the auctions are still primarily there for people who are looking to deal with something really very difficult and turn it around. So probably dealing with a legal issue, or where you're adding value immediately without having to pick up a paintbrush, so short lease investments, stuff like that. That seems to be doing really very well. Last 2 auctions, lot 1 have been short leasehold flats, and they've been selling for, if not double their guide price, and God only knows why, because they're being sold with no one really knowing how much it's going to cost to extend that lease, but clearly someone sees the value. Has anyone done a short lease investment before? Extended lease before? No? So the reason I think it's quite popular at the moment is because the lease extension costs are based on primarily 3 things. One of them being the current value of the property once the lease is extended. Now, in a downturn or a downward or bottom market, you can overpay for the asset in the first instance because the cost to extend is reduced because of the end value of the property, if that makes any sense. So I think that's the reason people are taking quite a bit of interest there. Land with or without planning, housing shortage, Section 24, people want to build stuff, people don't know how, people are making mistakes, but it's popular, I know someone who's buying lots of stuff that has existing planning and then going in and restructuring that existing planning to increase unit yield or, and doing things like that. That seems to be someone who's taking something that is desperately required, and instead of doing stock standard, flipping on its head and adding value. So adding value at auctions is vital. There's quite a few hands that have gone up. Anyone else? Here we go.
What do you recommend to sell properties in London or in their area? So, for example, from the north, from south, etc.
So there are two trains of thought, and I've got to be very careful. I hope no one's recording me. Auction House London are part of a national franchise, so there are about 40 other auction rooms in the country. And the main theory behind that is that actually local knowledge will get you a better price. And historically that hasn't been correct, but in recent months maybe it is a little bit more correct. The theory to bring a northern or southern property into the London room is that actually that is where most investors focus their efforts. So they'll be looking at the London rooms to highlight properties throughout the country. So it's very much a 50-50. I would focus on what type of property it is, and then go for where your investor is. You want to be where your investor is. The chances are, if it's a property up north somewhere, maybe it is a local investor. But if you're looking to increase the purchase price significantly, then you would probably want a London-centric investor, probably looking for some kind of yield or maybe a planning uplift.
So can I ask, so if you buy through an auction
Yes.
on a planning uplift or land, is there much difference between if they sold at open market or if they bought through auction?
It's really very difficult to say because the majority of these plots that come through to auction don't go to the open market first. They're normally things that are traded off market for a while and then find themselves at an auction room for a flip. Seems to be what most of it is. There are some developers who are going straight to auction now and they're using it as part of a three-stage exit strategy. So they will take it on, they'll get the planning, maybe it was granted 6 weeks before the auction. If it doesn't sell at the auction, their plan B would be to build out, and their plan B would be build to rent. So they're running a multiple exit on that. The auction is a great way for them to realise the value in a very, very quick and timely manner.
So it's a backstop if they want to either, it's plan C, or if they want to say, right, I'll just get out and that's it.
Well, you find actually a lot of them are using it as a plan A. If they can just go in and not have to hold it for that length of time, for the build cost and for cost of the finance over a period of time, then actually a lot of them will try and exit early and then leave it to a builder or another developer to pick up. So it's 3 or 4 developers I know that are selling through our auction specifically. It's their plan A.
Do you have any fees if say you put it in the auction, it doesn't sell? Are there any fees?
It depends. For the most part, no. For us, we have a marketing fee which is £500 plus VAT. We normally waive that if you come in at our levels. So we normally recommend a guiding reserve for the auction market. Those guiding reserves are not reflective of the true market value of the property, but they're required to build enough interest in the property for competitive bidding. So if you come in at our values, we'll give you a free ride. If you want a little bit more than our values, then you'll have to pay the piper. Yeah.
But at the time of auction, you have a reserve price, guide price, and bidding goes beyond that. Still, you can choose to sell or not to sell, right?
No. Once the bidding begins,
Okay.
there's no going back. If it goes over the reserve price,
Yeah.
whilst the bidding is going on, you have no choice. You're into an agreement, legally binding at the fall of the hammer. No way out.
Okay, I need to discuss it.
Yeah? Okay.
That's the difference.
Perfect. We've got an A-list walking through the door. Ranjan, you beautiful person, how are you this evening?
Pleasure to see you as always.
Any more questions before his beautiful face comes up here and runs on with me?
Jay, you have a lot. How much of the properties you sell at pre-auction?
I would say about 10%. So 10% are normally sold prior. At our auction, we try and do 10% sold prior, 10% underwritten. Has anyone heard of underwriting before I start using gobbledygook, everyone? No?
Can you explain it?
Beautiful, let's do that. So an underwrite is like mortgage underwriting or underwriting when you get car insurance. What someone is basically saying is, I'm going to underwrite the purchase at this price. The property then goes to the auction and it will sell above that price. Now the underwriter has put down a 10% deposit, which will either be refundable if someone buys it for a higher price, or if they don't complete, they then have to buy it. So the beauty of an underwriter is, for instance, the example I use is property is guided at is guided at 225, and an underwriter comes in and underwrites it at 250. But it sells for £300,000. The underwriter splits the difference of the underwritten price and the sales price with the seller. Another way to use it is almost like a joint venture partnership. So an underwriter is promising, come what may, to buy that property at 250. If it sells for more than 250, they will split the difference with you, 45, 45, 10. It is an unbelievable way to buy property. And if you're extremely very cheeky, you would realise that actually if you were the underwriter at 250 and you still wanted to buy the property and you were to bid up to 275, you will be paying 45 pence in the pound between the 250 and the 275, therefore leveraging your pound by 45 pence. But that's a very difficult strategy, and I've got less than 5 minutes to really answer questions. But I'll be here probably getting liquored up at the bar afterwards, so you won't miss out on me. Any further questions?
How do you persuade clients to go along with that?
A seller?
The seller.
Timing is everything. So normally, like a wedding or anything like that, it's the cold feet the night before is normally when you find the most underwrites taking place. Most of the time, if it's underwritten at the reserve price, it's a no-brainer for a seller. If their minimum expectation was the reserve, why would they not lock that in right away? And then any uplift at any point going forward, they can relax, they don't have to worry, and they can go forward. The uplift to the underwriter is you're either securing the property at the price you want it, or you're getting instant uplift. The only downside, of course, is that you are locked in until that property completes. And upon completion, you get your original deposit back and you get your uplift. It's beautiful, it's perfect. There are ways to really, really F it up. But I won't tell you any of those because it'll just be giving you tools to self-destruction, which I won't be thankful. Any other questions, you said?
Is there any way to get around the 28-day rule or equivalent, or extend it, or is that set in stone, or is it?
There are ways. Be advised that not every property will be sold with a 28-day completion. So if it's being offered by a bank, normally it can be up to 10 days. That's 10 whole days, not 10 working days. If it's LPA receivers, sometimes you'll get 14 days, that's 14 whole days, not working days. But for the most part, it's anywhere between 20 to 28 days.
Yeah.
Now, if you fail to complete on time, you can go into notice and they'll give you a 7 to 10 day extension, but they'll be charging you on compounded daily interest. It's expensive, it's not worth it. What you want to be doing is you want to be speaking to someone about maybe some auction finance, and then that enables you to complete on time or early if you can. Now, if you have paid your deposit and you've done everything you're supposed to do, what I normally recommend is if something untoward comes up that you're not entirely aware of, neither is the seller. As long as you are communicating politely, effectively, and in good time, and you tell them there is a potential issue, some of them may actually just give you a grace period. But if on the day of completion you come back and go, oh, I need a 2-week extension, they're not going to give that to you. So again, it's about treating people like people and not trying to mug them off, really. Am I out of time? Got one more. Here we go. There he is.
Hi, Joe. Joe, you mentioned about pre-auction, you said about 10%. What motivates somebody to sell before an auction? I mean, the whole point of putting an auction is to try and get a best price. So what would motivate them to sell it before the auction?
All depends on the motivation. The majority of people who are selling at auction are selling because they're restricted with time. Not only just looking to, maybe with competitive bidding, sell it for more, but maybe it is a time pressure. There are some people that are trying to sell before the bank get involved, or before the LPA receivers get involved, or before someone passes away. We had that last auction, it was sad. So time can be very much the key. We had someone who was selling a development site last auction. We sold it prior to the auction. The reserve was $1 million. The seller accepted 975, and he did that because the guy who made the offer said, I'll complete in 14 days. 14 whole days, not working days. And the developer thought, actually, if I've got all my holding costs, I've got all these things to contend with, 14 days saves me X, which is equivalent to X, and off he goes. So actually, time in that respect was quite valuable. Couple more? Let's keep going. Who else? Otherwise, I'm going to have to start doing a song and dance routine, and no one wants to see that, I promise you. I've got a couple of hands. Peter, go for it. There he is. Yeah. Was that a question? No, you're just talking. No, you're lucky. You've got to be careful around an auction. I'll pick your hand out. There you go. You madam, right at the back there.
What's the process of buying a property pre-auction?
It is. Oh, that's a really good question. So it all comes down. It's pretty much like an estate agency purchase before an auction. So what you want to be doing is you want to be making sure that you read the legal pack, view the property. Those are the first two things you must do. They're not mandatory for us, but they should be mandatory for everyone in the room. Then when you're happy, you put your offer forward to us in writing. We put that forward to the seller, we negotiate on your behalf, and we try and get the property sold. It is very quick and easy, but once that offer is accepted, you need to exchange as if you were in the room. So same day, you need to return the completed memorandum of sale, and you need to provide the 10% non-refundable deposit and the buyer's fee. So it's action as always, but the preamble in terms of being able to make the offer, very much an estate agency style approach.
Okay, so question then is, you said that some people they want to complete in 10 days, and auction finance, with the greatest will in the world, doesn't always happen in that timescale.
Correct.
It doesn't. So sometimes, obviously, you send your pre-pack out and says that we've got these properties on the list. So is it possible to gain access to a couple of properties to get some valuations done through a bridging lender for it to complete within the timescale you've got?
Oh, absolutely. We try to do at least 4 to 6 viewings prior to the auction day. And that's as a minimum. There are some properties we can't get into, life tenancies, assured tenancies, regulated tenancies, very difficult to get into those. Can get lucky sometimes, but very difficult. Now, between exchange and completion, this is something else that's quite important. A lot of people will still put their deposit down with a cheque. No vendor on the face of the planet is going to let you into that property between exchange and completion without having cleared funds. So if you want to have immediate access to the property, pay with cleared funds. Because that means you can get your mortgage broker in on day 2 or 3 and still have 4 or 5 days to get the funding across the line to complete on time.
You can do the pre-valuations then?
Oh, you can do, yeah. You can normally, they will let surveyors in for the most part. Yeah.
I'll probably add to that. There are some lenders out there that will do an automatic valuation, so they won't need to do they'll do a desktop balance.
So together do that. Sorry, together do that.
So there are lenders like
together. Yeah.
If the valuation stacks up and it's below 500,000 value, they'll do a desktop val on it.
But there's a lot of valuers that are down valuing everything.
Yes, but as long as you do your own research and due diligence, you can do some comps and provide that too.
So is it getting to the stage where you can do like a pre-pack where, say, you've had this done through Matthews and Goodman or Colliers or whatever, say the valuers come at this, because obviously then you can do a readdress or retype to other lenders.
Well, there was about 2 years ago, we had a finance company that advertised with us, and they were providing that kind of information, what they could get lending on and how much. The current lenders don't do that because the current lenders we have marketing with us are together, so they can give you a decision within 5 minutes apparently. I have no idea how that works, but they seem to be doing quite well with that. The thing I would always state is if you're buying a property auction, there should already be a discount to perceived market value already. So even if it's being down valued from market value when you provide them with the comps, the property should still stack. But in this market, God only knows what's going to happen.
You guys do commercial auctions also?
Well, no, we don't split our auctions, so it'll be land, commercial, residential, all in one. So it's far easier, hopefully.
Okay, one last question.
To maximize the value of selling, would you allow a lot of viewing prior to the auction?
Oh yeah, no, drown the property in viewings. Give them one a day if you want to. Absolutely. The idea in a market like this is accessibility. You want to make sure that it's easy for potential buyers to access that property, make themselves comfortable with it before they put down a non-refundable deposit. So absolutely, evenings, weekends, yeah. Be like Apple, just do it at 2 in the morning.
What percentage of your properties don't sell at auction?
So the February auction was an 80% sale. The March auction, which was on the 26th, was 77% on the day. And 2 have sold today, so we're actually 80-80. We're hoping that the next auction will be 80 plus as well. But based on the last 17-18 months, the success rate for auctions has gone from 80 to 90 down to 60 to 70. That is a real reflection on how sticky the market is getting. Who knows what will happen with that? I won't use the B word because I'll be up here for 40 minutes having a rant and a rave, but who knows what will happen. But we're maintaining a good success rate because of the type of properties that we're offering. And we've increased our discount for market value from 20% to 30%. That'll make a couple of people wince. But it really is bringing in the interest, and it is showing in the sales success rate. So if people can trust in the model, guide reserve low, sell market price or higher, then the world's your oyster.
I thought you could only mark up 10% on the reserve from the guide.
No, that's not what I meant. So we're talking about guide and reserving below, so reserving below 30% below market value. The guide and reserve therefore have to be within 10% of each other, but the discount from market value can be 50, 80%.
So you have to persuade your clients to discount an extra 10% then.
Yes. Which actually isn't that difficult.
What sort of response are you getting from sellers who are not able to sell? So
You're
the
going to have
unsolds.
to, Hannah, sorry, you're going to have to cut it off because we're literally running late.
Okay.
But you're around, right?
I'm not going anywhere. I'll be at the comfort. I'll be here. I was here last time. We were here till what, 11, 1?
Yeah.
I'll be here till then. I'm not going anywhere.
Like,
Yeah.
a big round of applause